back, everybody. Time in the WHIP studios is 11:42. It was the fight of the century. It's what everyone was all hyped up about, including myself. I thought it was going to be this fantastic fight. It ended up being a disappointment because Floyd Mayweather continued to be great, as he's one of the best defensive fighters of all time. And the man that was at MGM Grand in Las Vegas to see the entire fight was Sid Rosenberg, our good friend from 640 Sports down there in Florida. So now joining us on the hotline is Sid. Sid, Zach, and Michael here, WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. Thank you for a few minutes, and how are you, my friend?
Hey, doing great, Zachy. Great to be with you and Mike today, and a little tired, obviously, after spending 4 or 5 days in California with the family and then going right to Vegas, but 10 days on the West Coast is a bit much, but I'm ready to rock and roll. What you got for me?
Well, Mike is actually a brand new co-host. It's the first day on the job with me, so this is his first time getting to work with me doing a show. And you've been around many different stations, and you've had a variety of co-hosts. What advice would you give to me about dealing with a new co-host? Because Mike Zahn, actually, that's his name. I'm not kidding you. Mike Zahn, like how Mike on in New York is like with Mike Francesa, is the name of my co-host. So how do I deal with someone that could be that big of an ego?
So wait, you're telling me that this kid has never hosted or co-hosted a radio show before, and he's already comparing himself to Mike Francesa?
No, that's not what I said. That's his actual name. His name is Michael Zahn. We call him Mike Zahn, and you have him. He's done a few shows throughout the year here at WHIP, but never one with me.
Yeah, but he's lucky because here's the deal. I mean, you are a seasoned veteran, Zachary, a man that was in the studios with me at WFAN at the tender age of about 7 years old. You've been on many a radio show on WFAN, many a Sid Rosenberg show across the country, amongst other shows, and you've been hosting your own show there in Philly for a couple of years. So the last thing you want to do if you're Mike is sticking with somebody who's never done it before, because based upon his inexperience, if he's working with a guy who is equally as inexperienced, then you're both finished. So if I'm Mike, I'm happy because I'm working with a guy that's been around the block a couple of times, and if he's got any talent at all, he'll be in good shape.
Well, he does have talent. He's actually very good, and I make those decisions. So I guess.
What do you tell people when he's not sitting in front of you? That's the bigger question.
Oh, I think he's very good. He's also a really, really good play-by-play announcer for hockey. So what I do want to ask you.
I've worked with guys before, Zach.
Yeah.
I've said all the right things to them and on the air. Then when pressed off the air for an honest response, then I gave those folks the real deal. And to be quite frank, it wasn't all that nice.
Yeah, I've been behind the scenes for some of those conversations when the mic isn't on, and I can't agree with you. I've heard those words out of your mouth, but you're one of the best in the business as Sid Rosenberg joins us, and you have something in common with that fight, because there was a lot of hype around your Fear at the Pier fight when you were on the Imus show between you and Bernard Girk, and you got your butt kicked, just like how Pacquiao got his butt kicked the other night.
This is why you invited me on to talk about this. You know what? It's funny you say that. I actually sent the tweet back in Mike to Bernard after the fight and said our fight was
it was better,
more compelling. It was better. It was better. Now, and you're right, because even though much like Pacquiao, I was dominated and lost the fight. At least in our fight, there was blood. I broke my nose. I suffered a concussion. He connected with some real hard punches. I mean, really, outside of the 4th round, where I really thought maybe he had Floyd in trouble. Outside of that, even though Floyd connected on many more power punches, there really wasn't a lot of moments in the fight where either guy got close to being knocked out outside the 4th round. My fight, every time Bernard hit me, there was a chance not only would I get knocked out, but I would die.
That's true, and you weren't in that great shape then. Now you're in fantastic shape, and I see you all the time in Florida. You look good. You're strong as there can be. You may have to thank Bill Romanowski for that.
You know what's funny about that, John?
Yeah.
I walked into the press room before the fight.
Okay.
And the first 2 guys I saw were Craig Carton and Boomer Esiason. And Boomer grabbed my arm and goes, "It's funny you lifting weights." And Craig was like, "Jesus, you got to be. I mean, how much steroids can a person possibly do?" I took a lot, obviously, but they were quick to notice the body change too. Now, as it turns out, because they're big stars, WFAN, like I used to be, they were only in that media room for a little while, and then Leslie Moon just got a tickets for the fight. They were ushered out to watch the fight. Next door, me, I had to watch the fight about 50 feet away with all the media guys. But they were the first 2 guys to remark about the new Sid Rosenberg physique.
Well, at least you got in the building, because what Floyd Mayweather did to Rachel Nichols and Michelle Beadle was just such a disgrace there, Sid.
Yeah, that's Floyd. He's in charge. But you know what? I was in the building, and guys, I got there Tuesday. I did 3 live shows from there. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's a pretty cool week. I mean, a lot of guys that don't ordinarily. You guys know I'm really close with HBO. I do all of their events A lot of guys that ordinarily are not there for boxing, Boomer and Craig, for example, Christopher Dog Russo, Stephen A. Smith did his show from there all week, JT The Brick, and a host of other very recognizable national hosts. So all week long leading up to the fight, it really was amazing. I have covered a lot of fights for Showtime HBO the last 20 years, a lot of them, including Lewis Tyson in Memphis, Tennessee. When they say fight of the century, it really was that. Not because of the action or the golf on Saturday, but the week leading up to it, Las Vegas, the celebrities, the energy in the air was bigger than any fight I've ever covered. Ever. It was. If you want to just count that part of the week, the fight of the century.
We're talking to the infamous radio host, Sid Rosenberg, now hosting mornings on 640 Sports. And as we've already mentioned, I'm learning on the job myself, so I'm learning about boxing as we go along. My understanding is boxing over the times has changed a lot. And it used to be very much, you had two options. You would either knock your opponent out or they'd knock you out. What has changed that has made it so defensive? I understand that they've changed the size of the boxing gloves. Anything else that has made it so defensive now, or is it just a strategy?
I think it is. I mean, I think, look, in the good old days, Mike, you had the heavyweights, those guys are going there and they just hit you once or twice, you can fall down. I mean, that's just the way it is. Guys with incredible punching power, these guys don't necessarily have that. Like, these guys weighed at 145 pounds. That's not incredible punching power. So if you can, jab and stick and move and get out of the way, you're not going to get knocked out. Heavyweights are a different story. So I think it's part of the class, it's part of the weight. And Mayweather, look, we could talk all we want about a boring fight. I'm amazed by people in my business like Anita Marks, NBC, or even Evander Holyfield, who I sat with for 20 minutes on Friday. How they thought Pacquiao won the fight, and they got to be nuts. I mean, really outside of that fourth round where he did hurt him. He
did nothing.
The sixth round, he did nothing. Maybe 3 rounds. If you want to be nice to Manny, give him rounds 2, 4, and 6. At the very least, it was either 9-3 or 10-2 Mayweather. And that's not because of Manny. It's not because of his injured shoulder or because he's a bad boxer. It just goes to show you guys how good. And look, I don't like Floyd Mayweather. I don't like him. I was rooting against him. The guy's phenomenal. You can't touch him. And what happens is, you'll notice with his opponents, early in the fight, they'll go after him, and they will swing wildly and miss. And much like Dave Kingman, you're going to stop doing that. Can't hit it. Same thing here. These boxers, they swing wildly. They miss for a couple of rounds, and they're like, screw this. So when the announcers are going, well, Manny Pacquiao really should have given up his body the last 2 rounds and gone for the knockout. At that point, he was so mentally frustrated that he couldn't touch Floyd Mayweather, that Mayweather beat him in the ring and in his head.
Now, since you were at the fight, it might not have been conveyed over TV. What was the atmosphere like? I assume there were more Pacquiao fans than Mayweather fans, but was it a hostile environment? What was the security like? Just in general, what was that atmosphere like at such a big fight with all the hype?
Yeah, it was a partisan Pacquiao crowd. There's no question about it. I think most people rooting for Manny Pacquiao because, again, Floyd likes that. Floyd is the villain, and listen, he feeds on that. I'm the guy you don't want to win. I mean, as soon as the fight was over, he stuck it right to Dan Raphael of ESPN. Raphael had been writing for years that Mayweather was stuck in Pacquiao. He couldn't beat him, didn't want to fight him, he was scared. And right away, Mayweather said, not so scared now. Like that, I just kicked his ass. So I think fans, Mayweather liked the fact he wears the black hat, and Manny was the guy everybody was rooting for. They had a big deal the last couple of weeks about the domestic violence issues with Mayweather. The people, of course, never forgive him for that. So, yes, I believe it was a Pacquiao partisan crowd. And it was a wild crowd. So a celebrity crowd like I've never seen. I've covered the biggest fights in Vegas. This was above and beyond. Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, Mark Wahlberg,
Tom Brady,
Gordon, Johnson. All of them. I mean, I've never seen anything like what happened in Vegas a couple days ago.
Sydney, before we let you run, and I agree with you, I just can't stand Floyd Mayweather. He's the ultimate villain in sports, and just read the police report that his 10-year-old son at the time wrote. It was just really horrific to read those kinds of things and the actions that were going on, and I just don't like the way that he presents himself to the public, but I get it. That's him in boxing, and if you take away all those outside distractions, which I just can't personally, I think he's one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time. You can't deny him that. But after the fight, there was people going on Twitter, and you know what Twitter could be. You either have some really intelligent people or just some morons, and they called him the greatest boxer of all time. I just think that's too much of a stretch. Where do you rank him among the all-time greats when it comes to boxing?
No, not even close. He's not even top 10.
Thank you.
Look, the guy is staring. Look, when he beats, not if he beats, when he beats Amir Khan in September, that'll be his last with Showtime. He will equal Rocky Marciano 49-0. That's pretty good. I think 49-0 is pretty good. So he deserves to be talked about with great respect. But he's not even a top 10 boxer. I mean, guys like Sugar Ray Robinson, some of the great heavyweights were much better fighters, it's not all Mayweather's fault. The fact is that he fought in an era where the competition wasn't nearly as good. He's beaten all the top 5 or 6 boxers of this era, so he's somebody he's had to do. But anybody who puts Floyd Mayweather, I think, in the top 10 is nuts. And again, 49-0, maybe he comes back and signs one more deal. If he wants to, he can put HBO and Showtime in a pretty good bidding war and then set up for a 50-0, which no one's ever done. So he deserves respect. But I am telling you, it's not even up for argument. He's not even in the top 10 all time. Not even closer to 15 to 20.
This is why I bring you on, because we do agree a lot. And I know your guy, Steve Zemak, who's been on this show before, has even said to me that this fight should have happened years ago. And I thought Floyd Mayweather was scared years ago, and that's why this fight didn't happen a few years ago.
Well, there is that. People do think that Mayweather really thought 5 years ago there was a better chance Pacquiao could beat him. But I never had a big issue with the fight 5 years later, guys, because unlike, guys who fight when they're already, in their 40s and 50s, we've seen Larry Holmes do that, and Muhammad Ali do that, and Hector Camacho and Sugar Ray Leonard and Bone Crusher Smith and a host of others. Say what you want about these guys, even now. These best boxers in the game. So I'm screaming about 5 years ago, and that's fine. But the point is, they're still considered the 2 best boxers in the game, and the guy that's considered the best, the undefeated one, proved beyond a shadow of a doubt. Look, there was not a good fight Saturday, okay, guys? But there's always been this thought that maybe Mayweather, despite their defeated record, is not the best. Maybe Pacquiao's better. Maybe somebody is better. So the one thing this fight did on Saturday, the one thing it did do, and it wasn't a very good fight, was prove the point, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Mayweather is, in fact, best of this era.
Last one, Sydney, I promise, before we let you run, as we're talking to Sid Rosenberg from 640 Sports. I do have to bring this up to you because last time I was in your studios, you were all over the Florida Panthers and telling me how big of a Florida Panthers fan you were. And now I see that you're tweeting back about the New York Hockey Rangers. Are you now back on the Rangers bandwagon, or do you still love your Florida Panthers?
My cousin Charles says the same thing, Zach. I've never got off the bandwagon.
Oh, yes, you did.
You were born, but I'll say it like this, Zach, okay? It's like polygamy. Guys in Utah take 2 wives. They take 3 wives sometimes. I'm a polygamist. I've got 2 hockey wives. I've got the Rangers and I've got the Panthers. So the Panther wife right now went back home for a couple of months, and the Ranger wife is still at the house. But I have been a Ranger fan since I'm 4 years old, since day one. And even though, yes, I've taken a big liking for the Panthers specifically because of the New York owners, Vinny Viola and Doug Sifu, I've always been and always will be a diehard New York Ranger fan. And believe me, I'll be sitting there with a Flying Leagues jersey, very nervous if the heavy face off.
You got to be careful, because if Danielle hears that you're going with all these different women for your hockey team, she's not going to be too happy, Cindy, your wife.
She'll be fine. She's third behind the Rangers and the Panthers.
Oh, wow. I really hope she's not listening, because she will be very upset. I know your wife very well, and I don't think that's very nice the way to classify her as third.
She knows I'm kidding. I'll be married 23 years, God willing, in June, and there's not a hockey team, a baseball player, a football team, or a boxer that makes me nearly as happy as my beautiful wife of 23 years, the great Danielle Rosenberg.
We love you, Sydney. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it.
That was fun, always fun. Zach, excellent job. And Mike, I wish you the best of luck, pal. You sound good. Good luck to you too.
Thank you very much.
There is Sid Rosenberg from 640 Sports. So how about that?
He's always exciting. It's a very different interview than Kenny Albert, that's for sure.
Yeah,
very different interview.
Sid brings it from all different levels. And if you listen to his show, one moment he's talking about politics. Then the next moment he goes to sports.
Then polygamy.
Yeah, he's a guy that really does need a 7-second delay in radio. Because you never know what you're going to get from Sid Rosenberg. But he's the best. And I like how he came at you a little bit in the interview.
Oh, I loved it. It's hysterical.
I had to get that Mike Zahn reference in there, because anyone that comes on this show from WFAN, they know, or anyone that has roots to WFAN, they know Mike Zahn, as in Mike Francesa, is not going to be in the studio. But they're going to hear the name Mike Zahn and say, what kind of shtick is Gelb trying to pull here?
Well, no shtick. That's the name.
Yeah, that's
no
right.
Shtick.
All right, 11:56 in the studio. What we'll do right now is we will take our final break of the day. And when we get back, major announcement. You won't want to miss it. I have a big-time announcement. Zach and Zahn here with you. We'll be back right after these short messages.